Trong nhiều video trước tôi có đề cập đến hồi bé tôi cũng có những cái triệu chứng tự kỷ, nhưng lớn lên dần dần tôi không còn những triệu chứng đó. Trong thời gian gần đây tôi có tìm thấy một video của một nhà giáo phái nữ. Đây là một người hồi bé cũng rất là giống tôi. Bà đã trình bày rất là chi tiết về cái quá trình từ nhỏ đến lớn. Bà nói về cái khả năng học tập của bà rất là kém khi còn bé, nhưng khi lớn tuổi bà có khả năng học cao hơn và đã trở thành nhà giáo. Bà nói về những điểm yếu và những điểm mạnh của những người tự kỷ hay là ADHD hay là những bệnh tương tự. Nếu quý vị để ý thì bà nhắc đến toàn là bệnh không. Cái sự khác biệt giữa tôi và bà, ngoài vấn đề giới tính ra, tôi thì không có bệnh bởi vì từ lâu tôi đã biết cách chăm sóc cho sức khỏe của bản thân mình nên tôi không có bệnh. Còn cái bà trong video này đấy thì bà sẽ nói rất là nhiều bệnh của bà. Tự kỷ là một vấn đề đi kèm với rất là nhiều bệnh trong cơ thể. Nếu mà chúng ta không lo giải quyết những vấn đề đó sớm thì khi về lớn tuổi, những căn bệnh đó nó cứ xảy ra, và những cái bệnh đó làm cho chúng ta rất là khó khăn trong vấn đề sinh hoạt hàng ngày. Ví dụ như trong cái video mà tôi sẽ kèm đây, nhìn cái sức khỏe của bà, nhất là nhìn cái cặp kính và những cái triệu chứng của bà hiện đang có, thì tôi nghĩ cơ thể của bà rất là thiếu chất kiềm. Bởi vì khi mà cơ thể chúng ta thiếu chất kiềm thì chúng ta có rất là nhiều bệnh, và điều đó thường diễn tả qua cái độ dày của mắt kính mà chúng ta đeo. Tôi từ lúc trẻ đến bây giờ không có vấn đề liên hệ đến kính cận. Mặc dù nhìn xa tôi không có thấy rõ, nhưng mà mắt tôi từ trước đến giờ vẫn giống y hệt như vậy, chứ không giống như là bị đi xuống dốc. Có nghĩa là hồi trẻ nhìn xa không rõ, nhìn gần rõ, mà về già thì nhìn xa rõ, nhìn gần không rõ. Đó là những người mà bị đi xuống dốc. Tôi thì không có vấn đề đó, bởi vì lúc nào tôi cũng quan tâm đến cái lượng chất kiềm bên trong cơ thể của tôi, và tôi lúc nào cũng duy trì cái sức khỏe của tôi. Nên cái điều của tôi khác với cái bà ở trong video mà tôi sẽ kèm đây là vấn đề sức khỏe. Quý vị để ý kỹ thì sẽ thấy những cái căn bệnh thường xảy ra với những người bị bệnh tự kỷ, ADHD hay là những bệnh tương tự. Và bà chỉ nêu lên những vấn đề liên hệ đến y tế, mặc dù bà có nói là bà chỉ là nhà giáo chứ không phải là bác sĩ. Điều tôi muốn nói đây là quý vị nên giúp cho con của quý vị có một nền tảng sức khỏe thật là tốt. Cho dù các em hết bị tự kỷ đi chăng nữa, nhưng mà nếu như căn bệnh nó lại tái phát ra, giống như cái bà trong video này đấy, thì sẽ làm cho chúng ta rất là khó mà sinh hoạt ở mức độ cao trong cuộc sống hàng ngày. Video mà tôi kèm theo đây là nói tiếng Anh. Nếu quý vị hiểu tiếng Anh thì tốt, nếu không thì đọc những cái chữ Việt bên dưới. Mặc dù nó không được chính xác cho lắm, nhưng quý vị cũng có thể có cái khái niệm là bà ta đang nói gì. Tôi nghĩ khi quý vị lấy những thông tin từ những người đã từng có những cái triệu chứng như là tự kỷ thì quý vị sẽ hiểu về sức khỏe trong cuộc đời của những người đã từng bị chuẩn đoán là bị tự kỷ, và những cái vấn đề đó nó liên hệ đến cả cuộc đời. Cái người phái nữ trong video này, bà nhắc rất là nhiều đến vấn đề bị đau. Đau làm cho bà kiệt quệ, rất là khó mà sinh hoạt. Và rất là nhiều em tự kỷ cũng bị đau quý vị. Có điều là rất là nhiều em không thể diễn tả là mình đang bị đau. Thông thường khi mà những cái phản xạ sơ sinh hay là những cái phản xạ nguyên thủy, tiếng Anh gọi là primitive reflex, mà nó vẫn không mất đi sau khi mà chúng ta được tròn khoảng 1 tuổi, thì những cái phản xạ sơ sinh đó nó làm cho chúng ta bị bệnh suốt cả đời. Khi mà giúp cho những trẻ tự kỷ, tôi thường truy tìm những cái phản xạ sơ sinh. Nếu mà còn thì tôi hướng dẫn cho phụ huynh làm cho mất đi, bởi vì chúng ta có thể làm cho chúng mất đi thì cơ thể chúng ta phát triển tốt hơn, và hy vọng là sẽ không có bị những cái bệnh như là cái bà trong video này. Xin mời quý vị theo dõi đoạn video tiếp để quý vị hiểu nhiều hơn về cuộc sống và sức khỏe của những người đã từng có lúc đã bị não trái quá khỏe và não phải quá yếu, mà chúng ta gọi là tự kỷ. Cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi những tin bày vừa rồi, và cảm ơn quý vị sẽ theo dõi đoạn video kế tiếp. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Chân thành cảm ơn.
Hello, thank you so much. This is going to be a bit more energetic. Usually I'm quite singing and dancing, but it's really interesting because I often do use breathing before talking. I'm not 100% today, but I'm sure you understand these issues. So today I'm talking about connecting the dots between EDS, HSD, autism, and ADHD and dyslexia, and more. I have no disclosures other than chair and founder of SEDS Connective, which was kindly said before. So I'm going to put my story at the beginning because I think it's pertinent. We've heard some wonderful stories this week, but I am quite proud of my postnominals, my degrees there. And the reason being, I had a very difficult education. I was considered dim. I was bottom-setted in class. I was told I was a hypochondriac. And I was constantly being ill, you know, monthly pain, IBS maybe, and migraine and infection. So apart from all that, I didn't like school much either because it wasn't great. So I wasn't there, and it was much easier in those days to disappear. I never received certificates because they didn't have those supports in those days. I got a swimming certificate and I got a cycling certificate, and that was it. There was no curiosity about it. At 16, when I was 16, I just had 2 qualifications and I left. And so I thought I was dim. I remember asking people, what is psychology? Because I met some people who were going to university to do it. And they said to me, oh no, that's for clever people, not for people like you. So I thought, okay. And I sort of meandered through life. It's a bit like a twig on a stream buffeting against the sides. I knew I was different, but there was no word for it. I didn't even know what autism was then. And I just tried to exist. I just tried to exist in this strange world and make sure I wasn't harmed. And it was, you know, quite difficult, as you can imagine. I had children. I got married, I had children. My eldest was diagnosed quite early on, but had a lot of medical health issues after difficult labor. And they were diagnosed autistic, dyspraxic, ADHD, and a learning disability. My other child was also severe allergies. Think about eczema quite a lot, please. And all the other allergies that go with that. So my life was quite full. Wrapping up the children, you have to do emollients, you have to do bandages. But I was told I was a bad mum. I was told I was a refrigerator mum in those days. So my eldest is now 31. And it was difficult, and I didn't like being excluded. I didn't want my children being told they'll never do this, they'll never do that. So I decided to be an educational psychologist, as you do, with no qualifications. But luckily, I was given a chance, social mobility. And I studied psychology, and then I realized that all these years, I felt like a replicant. There was something there. And very stereotypical, your child gets a diagnosis, and then you do. But that was a bit later. I studied, and I did quite well. I got degrees. I became the lead nationally for autism and assistant head teacher. So that was quite late. I didn't start studying till I was 43. I did more degrees. But sadly, all this time, I'm taking it for granted you understand this. I had operations, I had illness. I was called the bendy lady, and no other support. So I tried to get, illness and disability support, but I was told I wasn't disabled, I wasn't ill, and I'm literal. So I thought, okay, I can't be, but I know I am. And so I masked pain. I learned to mask pain, and I still do to some degree. And unfortunately, I had to retire in 2015, very, very ill, burnt out, quite common. I was so bad, I wanted my leg cut off. I just wanted it removed, and that was so severe. I'd had no sleep for about 2 years. And only then, at the age of 53, I got what now is a HEADS diagnosis, and at 54, my autism won. I knew it wasn't a surprise. And then I thought, I was very ill. I actually got worse. I couldn't eat. It was that mast cell cytokine storm going on that you've all talked about. and everything was coming out. And in the end, my children asked me, adult, am I dying? And I didn't know what to say because everything was coming out of the blue. There was no answer. I couldn't eat. People were accusing me as a middle-aged woman of not wanting to eat. And I just think now, and I know there are different issues as well, but I was fearful of food. It hurt. It was painful. I did stabilize, I don't know why. And after a couple of years, I decided that there'll be other people like me. I think we have strong social justice issues. And I was looking for something to join, and I couldn't find it. So I started what is now SEDS Connective, and I linked with a leading researcher near me, who we're going to show her evidence soon. So that's what we're doing, and I'm really honored to be here. So the questions we need to ask and why. Is it rare or just rarely diagnosed? What is the evidence for this? You know, autism historically is stereotypical male bias, male research biased, and it's like my eldest did like spinning wheels on a train, but we are different. I don't think we're masking. I have to say that's a stand I take. I think it's stereotypical bias and diagnostic assessment of how females are. You know, back in 1970, it was less than 1 in 10,000 were diagnosed autistic. That was quite significant. When my eldest was born and diagnosed, very rare. The only thing I'd seen was the Rain Man, you know, the stereotypical thing there. Every image was male. So what is the relevance of this and where can you find out more? The prevalence rate in the USA now is 1 in 37, interestingly. This is I've got into graphics quite a lot at a late age. And this is a graphic, it's a representation, it's not scientific, but we asked our members what are the most common things and their children. And we've got a younger one for children at school. And this is often what it's seen as. So it's quite interesting. And then the autism dyspraxic, the ones who had a diagnosis, we did that as well. And it's been quite useful. So neurodivergence is having a brain that behaves and learns and processes differently from the typical majority. We don't think it's a deficit. We don't think it's wrong. Humanity is neurodiverse. We're all different, and that's absolutely okay, and we should accept everybody's brain. So this is another one, and we've particularly looked at autism, ADHD, and dyspraxia, and Tourette's, which follows the evidence. But this is an evolving picture, as I'm sure you can imagine with EDS and HSD. It's all evolving at the moment. I have an autism diagnosis. I'm autistic. I don't mind saying that at all. I think it's part of my identity. I recently just got an ADHD one. Again, that's no surprise, and everyone who knows me probably agrees. I have to dilute myself quite a lot. I'm also, I think I'm dyscalculic. What I didn't say is I'm actually a non-exec board member. I sit on health, social care, and so on. And I've always had, in big boards actually, and I've always had issues, and I run a charity. I have issues with numbers. One of my most proud moments was getting a GCSE in maths, not my degrees, because it was so hard. And I had a fabulous teacher, and I did it, as usual, at night time. So I've been doing icebergs for years and years and years. I've worked in all phases of education, from early years, special needs, primary, elementary, high school, secondary, and so on, and different areas of special and free and academy. I actually went to school in the USA in elementary. I'm just saying that as an extra because I've gone off on a tangent. So what I like is strengths. Okay, we've got to be proud. I'm not saying this is everybody, and those with learning disabilities have other issues, and I understand that. But I think what's really important is that we have very good memories. We are honest and loyal. It's really hard lying sometimes. I mean, it takes a lot of effort. I remember when my eldest took a chocolate biscuit at age 9 and said they hadn't taken it and they were covered in chocolate, and I just was so proud of them because they'd lied. Anyway, I've gone off. So, attention to detail, problem solving, pattern recognition. We can see things that perhaps other people can't, and it seems so obvious, it really does sometimes. And hyperfocus, some of these will cross over. And then I just want to do the challenges here and the differences. You will notice I haven't said deficits. Alexithymia, knowing our emotions. Rejection sensory dysphoria, I'll come to that in a minute. Catastrophizing, we're in a room, I was wearing a blue jumper, I was with that person, and then I fell over and it was awful and I broke, I don't know, every bone in my body. So that's quite bizarre, but it doesn't mean you're going to be in another room with the same people in the blue jumper and it's going to happen again. And this is a rather blunt analogy, but this often happens. We catastrophize, it's going to happen again, it happened in the past. And I've got health there as well, and flat effect. So you can look at these later. ADHD, you will see some co-occurrences here. Hyperfocus. What's different perhaps is the energy, the social, lively, talkative things, and particularly good in a crisis. These are the guys you want, you know. They will do what they need to do. And competitive. You often find they really excel at different things. The challenges are rejection sensory dysphoria. It's an emotional pain. You've hurt me in the past. You've said no. That must mean you really hate me. You know, it's a real emotional pain because we've been told off all our lives, could do better. If they focus more, they could do this. They're not focusing. I don't know what. So rejection sensory dysphoria comes into self-esteem issues there. And of course, we've got health. But the main key there is lack of focus and attention. And that's to do with executive functioning. I don't know if you've heard of this. So it's planning, organizing, time management is always a challenge. I should know better. I forgot 5 things coming here, including my medication. So I've said it now. And that wasn't great. But I have trained as a teacher. I do know our brain is a muscle. We have to use it. And I think that's really important. So this is evolving. This is not finished. I wanted I can see what it's got to be. But I've also added dyslexia in, Tourette's tics, and dyscalculia, and also some mental health, OCD, bipolar, and borderline personality disorder. Sorry? Okay. So this is the evidence from our patron, Dr. Eccles, which I've done the references at the end. Neurodivergent people, so autistic, ADHD, dyspraxic, and Tourette's, so these are the key areas, are twice as likely than the general population to have joint hypermobility, and you know the nosology is always changing. I can't keep up with you guys, changing it all the time, by the way. Pain, a lot of pain, and other symptoms like dizziness, dysautonomia, which I've got today. And also more than double, so that was more than double, and more than 20% demonstrated more dizziness. But interestingly, if you look, you can look at the other diagram, 80% were females. And so we need to think about hormones there, maybe. I'm not a diagnostician, by the way, I'm an educationalist, I'm not medical. That happens. So 30 years ago, it was very rare, less than 1 in 10,000. And now in America, it's 1 in 37 at age 8. ADHD rates are increasing, as you might have seen. Wonder why? I also brought out my first topical review with some pain advisors, and I thought it was really important because so many in education are being disbelieved, their parents are being disbelieved, they're being told they're making it up, they're making their children's lives worse. They cannot possibly have all these issues. And And so this is one of the papers which you can look at. I did a word art from our members just to see the similarity, and I found that quite interesting because a lot of these are quite similar. And yeah, I don't want to put it down on this, but you know, and the data's about autism. Autistic people die earlier, 16 times earlier on average than the general population. And as for disability and chronic illness, we don't know. I'm saying autism, but actually it's probably the whole thing. So we need to join this up. We need to. Physical health really matters. And they've died early from nearly every cause ever studied. So I'm going to whiz through a little bit, but you know the senses. This is my cat. If you know me, he comes in a lot in my work. But it's about the proprioception, it's about the cat's whiskers. They know where they are in relation to other things and objects. We have vestibular, which is where the astronauts used to come down. They have to be carried because their inner ear balance has gone. And then we have interoception. And this is really key. I've been involved in studies. Have a look at the reference at the back. We don't know if we're in pain or not. Yeah, we don't know if we're itchy. We don't know if we're hungry or thirsty. If we're tired, sometimes I'm thinking, my eyes are dropping and I'm yawning. That must mean I'm tired, and I should know better, I think. So this is quite a well-known study. James Lang, emotion, do you feel it in your body first or do you feel it in the brain? And physical changes happen in the body first, which leads to the emotion. But if you have an impairment cognitively, what the emotion is, like alexithymia, it's quite difficult to understand. So that's why children are blamed. They're making it, they've just escalated something, pain, out of the blue, and it's come out of nowhere. But there's a delay. And I think we often don't understand where the pain is coming from. So interoception I find really, really interesting. And there's some papers you can look at. And I think this is my intuition, it will go further. And I was really excited to be in the last study. Actually, I hated the study. I've told the researcher, it was so boring. But I got a lot out of it at the end, and I said sorry to her. So I haven't got long. So I think we're diagnostically overshadowed. If you're neurodivergent, autism, ADHD, they don't understand you might have physical pain. And I think constant chronic pain from a child is just normal. We don't know, it's not different. And it's quite hard. We have flat faces. I'm not cross if I'm frowning. I don't know if I'm frowning, if I'm cross, and I don't always smile when I'm happy. This is a very good analogy by Deborah Padfield of what my leg felt like when it was on barbed fire, you know, because that's what I think it is. This is just another one, umbrella, which I've been doing for years. I want to move on. You can have a look at these later. Diagnosis, pros and cons. So a lot of people ask me, should I get a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, whatever it is? I think if you want to, it's your decision. It's closure. It might be self-care. You can forgive yourself for being blamed all your life. It's quite important. And it might give you more protection in your job and traveling or wherever you are. It makes sense of your life. For ADHD, you might need medication, you might need coaching. Understand where you need to focus on executive functioning as well. The cons are, if you're traveling, some countries are not so progressive as others. And it can cost money to get a diagnosis. And there's huge delays in the UK, 3 to 5 years in some places. And it might be that you're at risk of losing your employment and job and losing, interestingly, friends, old friends and family once you have it. An ecumenical matter, and I've always pronounced this quite a few times now. Is it stigma or stigmatizing? Do we need to shift the register between being stigmatized as being neurodivergent and also joining it up? Is there a problem saying you're autistic? And do we care about different things? I'm neurodivergent, but it's nothing to do with EDS and HSD. So I think we need to destigmatize it. We're all different. So ecumenalism is about weaving the stories together, joining up. And I think that's what we need to do, is unify the languages, the vocabulary, and the models. And I think we need to unify it. I'm calling it out now, a call for action. Let's unify it. It's very difficult. We've got the social, the medical, and the biopsychosocial. I don't think they work. So maybe it's a bendiness in my brain that makes me really creative, and it's not something to be cured. As well as a weakness in my body, i.e. the connective tissue, there's a real strength in my brain, I think, thinking. Thank you so much. And the references are here.